life of a horse. They'll do 5 rides a day with half-hour breaks. So it's an 8-hour shift, and then they'll usually do somewhere around 3 to 5 days on in the city working. Then they get to go out to the company's farm where they get 3 or 5 days off out in like a field essentially. And they kind of come back and forth like that. So, rarely do they work more than 6 months in a given year, which is a pretty decent work schedule. It's better than mine. The fundamental thing that you gotta get past is that they have a job. They're working animals. What I always say is some animals are lucky enough to be born as pets. Some humans are lucky enough to be born as royalty, but me and Kip missed those boats. And like 99% of this world, we earn our livelihood. Some humans are lucky enough to not have to have a job yet. Somewhere down the line, and the free ride will be over. It's just the way it is, y'all. It's the real world. Kip came down from an Amish community in Pennsylvania about 6 months ago. That's where these animals all come from. The Amish are constantly breeding them and using them for all sorts of stuff. The thing is, they only use them until they're about 8 or 10 years old, at which point they sell those animals and just breed new ones. Kid could live, though, till he's 30, given the right environment. So where does he go for the rest of his life? There's really not a lot of great options out there. One thing that we all wish existed, but really doesn't, is the utopia field where they could just roam free and bills never have to be paid and everything you need drops from the sky. And I want to live in a perfect world too, y'all. But it's just not out there. But getting a job here, this is the big leagues. This is the largest carriage tour company in the U.S. And with that comes stability. If you get a job here as a horse, it's going to be your home for the rest of your life. And he's about 11 years old right now. Ideally, he'll work till his early 20s, and then he'll get to retire at the company's farm. So trust me, the opportunity to have a roof over your head and food in your belly guaranteed for the rest of your life is not insignificant. So it's a great career. Yeah. He's got good benefits, 401k. I'm glad he's here. I've been working with him a lot lately. I'm his trainer. That's what I am for Kip. Yeah, that's what I do here. I'm a horse trainer. But trust me, I feel like an imposter every time I say that, but I was 19 a split second ago. I got my foot in the door as a pooper scooper outer, and I blinked, and a decade went by, and this is what I've done with my life. And I don't regret it, but that's what my life looks like. Every half year or so, I get teamed up with a new Amish animal. And when they first start, they're these wild 2,000-pound puppies that have never seen the urban environment and are all over the place. And then through the course of half a year, you build them up from these like little baby boy puppies to these like confident, stoic, disciplined creatures. And the point is, he's basically graduated that process. I've spent about 40 hours a week with him for going on 5.5 months now. So if we're not out here, we're doing something at the farm or whatever. So yeah, close to my best buddy at the moment, old Kenneth here. He's great, man. He's a great little working partner. He's pretty much graduated, but he's still a little jumpy. So if I ever got to drop what I'm doing and tend to him, that's all good. Just let me handle it, and then I'll pick it up where I left off. I might leave you mid-sentence, but I'll conclude what I was saying. And if I forget, just remind me. But he's a great horse. He's a real C student, he's not an overachiever, not an underachiever, just kind of a slow and steady wins the race. He's a little bit on the impatient side. He doesn't like to stay parked for too long, and if I keep him parked for like longer than a minute, he starts to give me glaring looks and attitude, but it's all good stuff, man. In the industry here, there are a lot of regulations. City government doesn't want big traffic jams caused by carriages, so every one of us are required to check in with them here at this toll booth. It's basically air traffic control. So I'm gonna say hi to them, and they're gonna give me official clearance to go into the historic district. So y'all give me just a moment. Ooh. Hello. Carriage is 196. I got Kent, and we've got ourselves 14 adults and 1 child. Is he still in the game? All right, we're past the 3-minute mark, so set the clock. So what they do to prevent us building up traffic jams is they split the historic district into 4 quarters, and then they randomly draw one of those 4 for every carriage that pulls up. And believe it or not, up until this very moment, I didn't know which of the 4 we were going to get drawn. They do it right on the spot. They have a high-tech tool to randomize it. It's a bingo ball machine from like decades ago. And yeah, you know, it gets the job done. And as you can see, we got ourselves the red zone today, which is great news. I mean, this could be called the best route. I get to see a lot of landmarks. It's got the trailer park, prison. This one's really fantastic. A lot of amazing history out here. And I'll go ahead and just throw something out there, is that personally I like questions. You know, I don't know the answer to everything, but if you got something on your mind that you're curious about, throw it on out there. Don't hesitate. If it's not obvious, the horse stuff's my favorite subject, so you know, I'll try not to work on it all day long, but it's hard not. They call Chicago the Windy City. Y'all ever heard Charleston's formal nickname? People call Charleston, I think I heard it just now, the Holy City. There are a lot of churches here, and there always have been. There's currently 180 active congregations in the greater area, but it all started with this one in front of us here. This one's called St. Philip's Episcopal, and it got founded all the way back in 1680. It was the first ever group of European colonists to live here full time, and they were English colonists, but it's interesting to note they didn't come from England directly. They had all come from a nearby English colony in Barbados. You know, if you're trying to fill this place up with people, who do you ask to come first? The ones that are nearby. And this opens up a lifelong connection to tropic culture. And you see a lot of that trickle down and still is alive here today. They've gone through a lot since they built the church. During the Revolutionary War, the tip of the steeple was annihilated by cannonballs. The British Navy constantly aimed at the church's steeple, and they had to rebuild it afterwards. But a lot of the base of the building goes back to the 1680 mark. You know, they received a lot of financial aid from a group in Philadelphia for that reconstruction. And in honor of their efforts, they renamed this alleyway behind the church Philadelphia Alley. For you guys, this is the oldest alleyway in the city. So if you got 10 minutes to kill and you don't know what to do, super lush, super beautiful little block to walk down. And if you can imagine, in the olden days, this was the back door into the city. You know, when the colonists first laid the boundaries of this place out, it was about 5 blocks long and 5 blocks wide. And this was its northern edge. So, if that makes any sense, as we take this right turn, we're essentially entering the oldest part of Charleston there ever was. A lot of these structures originally dating back to the early 1700s. Minus the Scotchman. I think the Scotchman was like the 90s or something like that. But, yeah, it's funny, you know, there wasn't, not too long ago I had to baby talk them and tell them to not be scared of cars. Now I gotta tell them to not play chicken with them. You know, he's pretty used to the cars. As I'm scanning the block ahead of us, that tarp hanging off the dumpster is on my alarm. That's the type of stuff that catches their eye now, just because it's kind of out of the ordinary and unusual. But that's going to be your boogeyman for them. Kent, up, 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 up. It's just weird. It's like, what is it? He doesn't know. It's not usually there. It's like the foreign aspect that makes it kind of intimidating. It's weird. Oh, his big snort. He's ready to bite it. He's like, I'm gonna kill you. Just wait, honey. Just wait. There's moments like these. It sounds insignificant, but hopefully he's saying, oh, that wasn't actually that bad. I thought it was gonna come and get me, but it actually didn't. And it's okay. And it doesn't seem like a significant experience, but you take 1,000 insignificant groups and what do you got, basically? It's kind of my theory. Yeah, this is a neighborhood that was built up by the next major group to come to Charleston. There's a group of French Protestants. They founded the next ever church about a year after that one, and we'll see it in about a block. This was just an urban environment that was built around it. For that reason, they've always called this side of town the French Quarter. You can even see it written up on the street sign if you look above the street name. It's the number 2 oldest French Quarter in the United States. It's the number 1 most boring French Quarter in the United States. They say it's because the French Protestants came to Charleston and the French Catholics went to New Orleans, so had a little bit more fun historically. Here's the other end of Philadelphia Alley, and this entrance you can see just how gorgeous the alleyway is. Ironically, not a lot of brotherly love going on here. That was where dueling was often staged, when it was a legal means of settling your disputes. So, luckily though, out of the hundreds of duels that occurred there, there's only 2 recorded fatalities. So it turns out dueling wasn't all that dangerous to begin with. You can get in somebody's face at a party and throw down the gauntlet and still be a tough guy, knowing full well when you got there it wasn't really going to be a big deal. And here's the French Protestant church. And like I said, this one came in 1681, just a year after the Church of England. And I love pulling up to this intersection right here because you get a perfect view of 2 of the earliest churches, the Church of England and the French Church. Now these would be the 2 pillars, but as time would go on, the founders of this place increasingly relied on religious tolerance as a way to draw colonies here. And it ended up snowballing to a point where by the time the Revolutionary War occurred, there were already 10 churches. Doesn't sound like a high number, but at the time this place was so small that they're basically stacked right on top of each other. And that's about the time folks started to call this area the Holy City. You know, the Huguenot Church still does services every Sunday.